All right, congratulations on making it through level 1. Let's get on to level 2 where we're actually applying all these things we learned about nets to finding the surface area, which is ultimately what we care about and want to do. So just a reminder, the surface area of a three-dimensional figure is the sum, so adding up, the areas of its faces. So that's really what we're finding is a bunch of different areas and we're going to add them up. So a net can be helpful when finding the surface area because it can get very confusing what you're looking at. So let's focus on drawing nets first. So I'm going to give you opportunities to pause and do that on your own, and then you can check with me, and then we'll focus on surface area. So it says draw a net for each figure, then use it to find the surface area of the shape. So we've got our shape here. I'm just going to help you out a little bit, but go ahead and start drawing the net if you're ready. So if I look, I know I have a 3 by 6 piece, right, because I got the 6 going up here, so 3 by 6 on the front and back. I have a 7 by 6 piece right here, these big side pieces on the right and left. And then I have this top part, this little piece is representing 3, and then this long piece here is 7, so 3 by 7 on top and bottom. So those are the pieces you should have. So if you need to pause the video to finish drawing your net, go ahead. But otherwise I'm going to show you mine. Now yours of course could look different, but the point is you have to have the same number of pieces, and they should have the same measurements as mine, and they should be matching up with a measurement that's the same, like the same number matching up. So I've got my 3 by 6s, I got my 3 by 7s, and my 6 by 7s. So again, it's okay if you drew it a little bit differently, like maybe you started with the bottom and had your 3 by 7 on the bottom with things on either side. That's fine. Just make sure you don't mess up the numbers you're matching up, okay? So anyways, regardless, these are our 6 pieces. And if I look, I've got 2 of each piece. So here's how we're going to start solving it. And by the way, if you don't have a calculator, you need to pause your video right now and go get one. Because even though you're going to be able to do some of these in your head, you are going to want a calculator because it's going to be a lot of pieces that we're looking at together. Okay, so pause your video and go get a calculator if you haven't done so already. Okay, so we're still going to write out what we're doing. And then you're just going to do the work in the calculator and make it easier, which you will get to do on assessments as well. So anywho, like I said, I'm going to start with my 3 by 6s. So I've got 3 times 6, that's obviously going to be 18, but I have 2 pieces like that. So I want to show 2 times 18 for that. Don't do anything in your calculator yet, I'm just talking through it. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my 3 times 7 pieces, right? I've got 3 times 7 is 21. Multiply that by 2 because I have 2 of them. And then I have my 6 times 7 is 42, and I have 2 of those pieces as well, so I'm going to take that times 2. So here's how that would look. Give me one second, I want to make sure I'm showing the right thing. Yep, okay. So see how I took my 18 from my 3 by 6, but I'm showing it times 2, because I know we think of parentheses as like we do that first with that order of operations, but it can also represent multiplication. I know that's just another way to show it. So this is showing 2 of those 18 pieces, right? 2 of those 3 by 6s. Same thing with my 3 by 7s and my 6 by 7s, okay? So now I'm showing 2 times 18, 2 times 21, 2 times 42, but I need to add those pieces up, right? So this is representing all 6 of my pieces, but I have 2 of each of them, right? So even though you only see 3 things here, I'm showing 2 of them, and we're adding up all those pieces because that's what surface area is. You're getting the area of all these different pieces, and in this case, a rectangle, so we're just multiplying the numbers together, and then you're having to add them all up. So if it makes it more sense for you to do those individually, you're more than welcome to, but you can also show it like this. So then, go ahead and use your calculator if you want to, but you do need to still write what you got from this. So I got 2 times 18, that is 36. Then I get plus 2 times 21 is 42, plus 2 times 42, which is 84. So this is my next line. Make sure you're writing that. So notice I did the work in my calculator or in my head, either one, but I'm still showing what I got, and I'm showing my next step. I'm not jumping to the answer yet. So then you can use your calculator, or if you want to do it off to the side, that's up to you, to add those pieces up, because those are representing your, 2 pieces, right? So you have 6 altogether, but 2 of them are the same, so you have 3 pieces here. And when you add them all up, you get 162. And I said unit square because they did not give us a unit, but we know that's going to be unit square because you're finding surface area. Area is always, your units are squared. Okay? I'm going to keep going. If you need to go back and look at something, feel free. But let's take a look at a pyramid. So you need to draw, I know on my screen it says calculate, but you also need to draw a net first, and then we'll use it to calculate the surface area. So go ahead and pause your video and do that first, and then I will show you mine. All right, I hope you took time to pause the video. So now when you look, here is what most likely your pyramid looks like. Even though you can draw it other ways, it's probably the most common way to see. So your centerpiece here is a 16 by 16 square. And then you have your triangles, which is 16 here, but a height of 17. So now when we go to do pyramids, the one little tricky thing you have to remember with pyramids is the base is pretty easy. And when you do the triangle, here's the first step to remember, right? With area of triangle, remember, we always have to divide it by 2 or take half of it, however you want to think of it. The other thing that's tricky is that with a pyramid, you have to multiply your answer by all of the triangles you're using, in this case 4. So you take that answer times 4. I almost always forget to do this, so you really have to be very careful that you're remembering how many pieces you really need. So let me show you the start, right? So I'm going to represent my base first. That is going to be represented with, oops, give me one sec, I want to click on the right thing. It's not popping up, there we go. That's going to be represented by 16 times 16 to get that square piece, okay? Then I need to add that, so that's one of my pieces, right? But I have 5 pieces total because I have these 4 triangles as well. So I'm going to add that to our triangles. Now watch how I'm going to show this, okay? I'm showing that it's the triangle, right? So it's 16 times 17, but we also need to take half of that. So, sorry, Cora's barking in the background. So, one sec. Sorry about that. Cora was hearing some noises and making some barks because of it. Anywho, so like I said, you have to have your base times height, so 16 times 17, because it's a triangle. We then take half of that. But since there are 4 triangles, that answer is going to need to be multiplied by 4 to represent our 4 triangles. So I know this looks like a lot, but you're really just multiplying, right? So let's focus on the 16 times 16. Go ahead and do that in your calculator. Then, and if you did that, you should have gotten, I believe it's 256. Let me just double check. I don't want to show you something more than what I want you to see. So, yep, 256. So then you have to do your 16 times 7. So go ahead and do that in your calculator. And I got 272, but I need to take half of that, so divide it by 2 to get 136. And then I take that times 4, and I end up with 544. So I'm going to take my 256 from my base, which is the square, and then when I do one triangle times 4, I get my 544. We need to add these pieces together, right? So this is representing my one piece, this is representing the 4 other pieces, adding them together to get 800, and it's inches squared because we start off with inches, and it's always squared because we were talking about surface area. Okay, so I know that was a little complex, but if you remember your pieces like we did with our nuts, you'll be good to go. Let's look at one more. All right, triangular prisms, in my opinion, are the hardest because there's so many pieces going on, and you've got triangles, but you also have rectangles, and no 2 pieces are the same except the triangles. Anyways, it's just a lot going on. So let's take a look and think about our nut first. So I'm going to think about our pieces. I'm going to start with the rectangles first. And this one is a little bit of a optical illusion because sometimes I look at this as the top, and then sometimes I look at it as like there's a bottom piece, like the bottom's facing up, like it's on its side. So it's kind of weird how you could look at it, but let's try and focus in on our pieces. So I've got my 5 here, and if I look to the next side, I got a 2. So this bottom piece here, or however you're looking at it, is a 2 by 5. And then I also have a 2 by 3 here, right? If I look at my line here, 3. And then on this other side, this is a 2 because that's what it is over here. And I've got my line of 4, so I have a 2 by 4. So those are my rectangle pieces. Okay, 2 by 5, 2 by 3, 2 by 4. So then I need to look at my triangles, and they are right triangles because I see that little square there. And I'm going to use that to help me out, right? So those have to come together to create that right angle. And so I have my 3 here and my 4, and if I follow straight across, there's my 5, just like it is down here. So our triangles are 3 by 4s, but we gotta use the 3 by 4 because I don't really want that 5, that's just my other length. But I care about, since it's a right triangle, the base and height are going to be my 4 and 3. That makes a big difference when finding the area of it, because if you would use that 5, that would make the answer to this a different area than what we want. And so we want the 3 by 4 because those are what create that right angle, and that's what we want for our triangle. Okay? So let's talk about, so you need to create those to make a net. Here is one option. That's what I have. It's okay if you have something different, but just make sure you're matching them up. But let's go ahead and start creating our pieces. So we're going to have 5 pieces, right? 3 rectangles, 2 triangles. So let's start with the rectangles. I'm going to have a 2x5 piece, and then plus a 2x3, plus a 2x4. And then I'm going to have 2 triangles where I'm doing 1/2 times 3 times 4, but I have 2 of those. Okay, so those are my 5 pieces. So let's break them down. These you can pretty much do in your head. So 2 times 5 gives you 10, 2 times 3 gives you 6, 2 times 4 gives you 8. Then you have to do 3 times 4 is 12, and then take a half, that's 6. Do it again, you get 6. So here is our row showing what the actual areas are for our individual pieces. So here are 5 different pieces and their areas. So then all we need to do is add them up together. So what you can do that in your calculator on your own. Either way, you end up with 36, and it's feet squared because of feet here. Now yes, I understand that taking a half here for your triangle, when you have 2 of them, you end up with 12 originally anyways. I totally get that, but I really want you to make sure you're still taking that half of the triangle and doing those individual pieces, because if you don't, you are most likely going to make a mistake with your numbers. You're going to forget that you took a half, or you're not going to remember. So I always suggest that you do the individual pieces so that you don't get lost in your surface area, okay? Because it's a lot of numbers all going at the same time. So it makes it very easy if you really think about each individual piece and do them individually rather than shoving them all together. Okay, now the one time where you did with the 4 triangles, that was okay, but notice how I still found what the one triangle was and then multiplied it by 4. So just make sure you're really careful about finding all the individual pieces of your surface area. Again, I know this is a long video, but there was a lot to cover, and I wanted to make sure that you knew how to do exactly what you needed to do. So then you have a quick check to go get. Really take your time on that. Do not make silly mistakes. Then you have a couple more sections before that summative. Good luck. You can do it.